I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were Christian. My grandparents, other relatives that were around us, the friends that we were with. And so it was expected that you went to church every Sunday. That's just what we did. And I loved going to church. That's where my friends were. I loved the music. My mom ran the children's ministry, and so I was very involved with that. And I found that I just loved the history of the Bible and the stories of these people who had great things happen to them, and the whole fact that these were true stories. And I truly began to believe that this is the Word of God, that the Bible was very special. And so I thought going to church was being a Christian. I thought that's what it was. And when I was 12 at church camp, that's when I realized that I had this void in my heart, that there was something missing, and that was that relationship with Christ. So I was saved and then later baptized right there at church camp. When I was 14, I had a friend who died from cystic fibrosis, and that was a very difficult time as a kid, pretty much losing someone who was my own age. And it was really my faith that helped me with that, to be able to say that there is something more in life for this friend, and that there's going to be something more for me after this life as well. That was very important to me, and that was when I really started studying, and I think my faith began to grow even deeper then. I've loved being a Christian, but I have to admit I've not always been the best Christian. It doesn't mean my life is perfect. There's been some really great times, and there's also been some low times. But during those low times, I always felt like I knew God was with me, and I had someone to guide me through those times. I struggle with things, as any person does. I have attitudes that I have to check all the time as a Christian and say, you know what, that's not how it should be. There are times when my devotional life isn't what it should be, and I've gone periods where I've had to stop and say, oh my gosh, I haven't picked up my Bible for a while. I've got to get back into that. There's been times in my prayer life when I've had to stop myself and put a check on me and say, you know, when was the last time that I really had a conversation with God? Not just about asking for something, but really having a conversation of what His will for me is, and how things are going and where I am spiritually right now. And so I've had to stop and do that with myself. I've always had great role models, and I've always had some great mentors that have helped me throughout my Christian faith. I know that God has shown me and led me throughout my Christian faith. He really sent me, I think, to this church as a teenager when I was searching for something different, and I've been able to be involved and just grow spiritually even more in this church itself. I really feel like I was led to a Christian college where I was able to really deepen my faith and go into a career that has led me to teaching and working with special needs and at-risk kids. And being in a public school, I can very proudly say that I pray for every one of my students and their families that I work with. And that comes from my Christian faith. You know, I think some people don't understand the importance of helping lead children to God. But I do, because that's where it all started for me as a child, and my background and growing up in the church, and the different activities and the different people that were so influential to me and that led me to Christ, and church camp and how important that is. And those are all things that I want to see for kids. So for the last 30 plus years, I've been able to really spend time with kids and do activities with kids that I hope have led them to a better understanding of faith and being able to take that step to fill their void in their life with that relationship with Christ.